Today we're gonna do a good old walk and talk. It's been working on this channel, not gonna lie. Picture up. All right, today we're in Mount Dora, Florida, at Forest Preserve, north. Never been here. Gonna check out the trails. Let's take a look at the map here. This is welcome to Mount Dora's Forest Preserve. Guess this is kind of new, 2024. About a year and something change. We're gonna walk this and see what we can get into. It's a 14 acre. All right. Looks good to me. Let's try it out. So it looks like it's got artwork. That's pretty nice. It's pretty cool. Man, I'll have to come back and read some of this stuff, but trying to get the heart working has me stopping at every corner. In any event, let's take a look at this. I think this is a little over a mile, the trail that I read, and we'll see where it takes us. This is so far so good. This is really nice. Nice and peaceful. Hiking trail. All right, this is where we want to get. Maybe we can get down here up the steep incline. All right, we're gonna work the knees today. Here we go. Off to the races. So here we are. I felt like I have so much to say today. I don't even know where to start, really. Well, for one, you've been watching this channel. I appreciate you guys. These walk and talks are the foundation of this channel, with the destination point always in mind. If you're curious what this is about, talk about my life, share my life. But it's based around the restart, getting my steps in, and enjoying everything around me. Not familiar with this, and these inclines are pretty good. But in any event, glad you could join me. But yeah, I have so much to say today. Just so much on my mind. I might condense some of it for tomorrow. Looks like steep incline ahead. Change in elevation. I can feel my ears popping. My ears are popping. This is great though. It's nice to mix it up. There's so many trails and things around here in this area in general. It's just beautiful. Pretty much in the Central Florida area, any area, there's some really great trails. I guess that's why they just call it I climbed Mount Dora. Going up an incline. Kind of reminds you like you're in the mountains a little bit. Which way should we go? This way or that way? Let's go. I'm gonna go this way. Yeah, with so much to say, and I don't want to cram it all into one video. I have some things that I want to talk about relationships in general, and maybe I'll just do that today. But also had a different kind of revelation today of, like, you know, as journaling these vlogs, doing these vlogs, I had a revelation, which I'll probably talk about that tomorrow. But today we're going to focus on this beauty and this trail. But so I don't leave you hanging, you're going to go, where's this guy taking me? Well, I basically want to say is, when I was, what was that? I had shorts on. It was a pine needle, or like something bit me on the leg. Got a funny story about that too. I'll get to in a minute. But yeah, I'm gonna talk about relationships. Funny story too about that, because man, as I'm going down these trails, I'm taking you on a lot of rabbit trails as I'm talking. I had a funny story about that years ago. Had a boat. We were all out on the west coast. The sun was going down. We were trying to dock the boat. We had some people. I was married at the time, no kids. We were trying to get our boat situated, but the tide was going out. It was really stressful. The sun was going down. It was dark, and so I just pulled up the truck. You know, we're in this area. Pulled up this truck that I had, an Avalanche, a Chevy Avalanche, and I gotta watch where I'm going to. And there's some sunlight, but it was kind of, the sun was already going down. I felt something like nick my leg, and I'm like, what is that? It's like a crab, and I looked down, did a flashlight. It was a snake. It was like red, orange, or whatever, and I freaked out, and I just said, hey! I was yelling at them. They were a little ways down. I was yelling. I'm like, hey, I just got bit by a snake. And they're like, no one's paying attention. And finally I go, hey, I just got bit by an effing snake. And they all look up, all the church group people, because I dropped the F-bomb. I got their attention. They called like 911, the ambulance. Nevertheless, the paramedics said, hey, whatever it was, luckily it didn't clamp down on you. It just scraped your skin. So anyways, I don't know why I told you all that story. The moral of the story is always pay attention to where you're walking. That's what I'm trying to do right now on blog. But yeah, this is a long-winded. Well, so far so good, guys. This is really peaceful. I'm glad you decided to walk with me today. No, but in general, just been thinking about relationships. And you know, I've been talking to somebody for 2 years, built a really close relationship. She came down here last week. She's still down here, but she's over on the west coast visiting family. And you know, not gonna lie, there's definitely feelings there. We're both in weird places in our lives, and just kind of hanging around her, I knew she's got a lot of things going on that she has to deal with, raising a daughter by herself, who sometimes can be, you know, challenging, like raising any child can be. And she's got 2 big dogs, and she's got a lot of stuff going on, you know. She'd never sit still. And I thought too, which I wish I coulda, shoulda, coulda, woulda listened to people back in the day, is listening to advice from other people. I guess it's another outlet to a road here. Hang on. Coming back to that story. We're just checking out the sights and sounds too, right? Some kind of road, dirt road here. And it's pretty cool nevertheless. Looks like some kind of antenna. I'm thinking it's some kind of lake right here. Huh. Pretty cool. I'm just gonna stay over here. So, you know, with all that, she just has a lot going on in her life, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's just, you know, I think we're at 10 years difference. She's 10 years younger than me. My kids are kind of grown. Youngest one's 16, but they're all kind of doing their own thing. They don't require a whole lot anymore. Of course, being divorced, this is gonna be really dark. Get back in the shade here. Of course, being divorced is what I really want to talk about. Is if you're struggling in a relationship, see what you can possibly do to keep that alive. And what I mean by that is, you know, I don't think if I would have stayed in my marriage of 15 years, nothing would have really changed. We're just 2 different she didn't believe in who I was, and vice versa. They're just, from day one, it was disastrous. Was there love there? Yeah. And that phrase of opposites attract is so true. Reading something there. But the end result is, when you go through stuff in life, I don't even know what this is going to look like. The sun is just beating down really bad. Nothing's ever easy. But the moral of the story is this. It's like you can, let me turn around here. There we go. You'll use the sunlight as my advantage. You can try to make things work. And you can, right? But there's compromise. I think when you get married early on, and I'm not saying people should just dump their relationships. I don't believe in divorce, even though I've been a victim to it twice. Could get another story another day. So, but what I'm really trying to say is, I didn't listen too well. I was one of those guys where, you know, I would hear people tell me things, and I was like, no, I was just a very spontaneous type of guy. Just would go with what I felt, you know, and there's some good to that and there's some bad to that. Especially being an entrepreneur, you have to have that. You have to have that oomph to get you to the next phase. But I say all this too is because with that, I evaluate so many things. You know, since 3 years, since my life collapsed, I haven't dated. I started seeing someone as I was talking to this girl, Sweden, but we were just friends, and I developed a relationship. Well, I actually had the relationship with this gal, but it wasn't really a relationship. It was a long distance thing too. And I was talking to her for quite some time. She came down, and I think when I met Sweden, it was around the same point. She went back up to New York. But it was just some things about her. She came down for a couple days, and there's just some things I didn't want to compromise with. It's like, you know what? I'm not really feeling this. It doesn't feel too good. There's something in my gut that says it's wrong. And you can make things work, for sure. But you got to go with your gut. And so, slowly kind of got rid of that relationship and moved on, and I cut all communication off. And then she came back around a couple times. We talked or whatever, but nothing concrete. But in time, I developed this relationship with Sweden. Phenomenal singer. I was like, man, we just clicked. You know, maybe it's like two people going through a hard time, kind of connected with someone to talk to on the phone, FaceTime. But we built something, and it was beautiful. It still is beautiful. But I just, you know, they got here, and then her daughter was sick 2 days, so my time with them was just kind of like limited. And so, yeah, and I just thought about it. The dogs barking, just chaos. And I'm like, man, you know, say if there was something here, would I like this or not? This is too, am I being too picky? And quite frankly, I think you know what you know. And not to say that we could never ever work, but it's a lot. And so I was just meditating and thinking this morning. I was like, man, how do I communicate this without being interrupted? So I said the best way I can do it was text. It wasn't a breakup text. It's just like, hey, we're friends, and you know, that's all. There's nothing. Never kissed her, never held hands, nothing, none of that. I mean, this is just totally innocent. I just said, hey, and I was disappointed. I felt like she probably could have stayed here a couple more days to just see. But I think at this point, you know, what would be the point of that anyways? Because we would, you know, I would have already known after reflecting and thinking about our time together. But yeah, so I sent her a text and basically said, hey, listen, I want to be up front. Just think we're at two different places in life. I was in a marriage where I was on the back seat, where, you know, I came in last, and I want to be a priority. Because one thing I've learned being around my friends that are still married, that make it successful, is they make their marriage, their relationship, the number one thing outside of God. Because the kids grow, pets die, things move on. And the house, if the house was a big thing about not being cleaned up, I mean, that's an easy fix. But relationship, having that priority of that person being priority, number one outside of God, it's important, So I just thought about that and I go, man, I don't think she's going to be able to do that, even if it was an opportunity. So I let her know, and she kind of felt the same way. I mean, we're still friends. I'm a little bit disappointed because when you grow feelings for somebody, it just happens, But this is what I've learned over the years is this. I've learned so much of how to just deal with things the proper way. Most people would never ever say that. And I've met women along the way too. I've met women, been out on, I wouldn't call them dates, but out, and I'm very upfront with them. I'm like, hey, listen, you're a very awesome woman, but here are the parameters. I don't see this working out outside of a friendship, because most of the time it's like long distance. There's always a distance involved, and if I could just find someone local that was into things, it'd be wonderful. But I've been upfront, I've been honest, and that's one thing I've learned, is because I don't want to hurt anybody. That's never my intention, and vice versa. Yeah, my feelings are a little bit hurt, but at the end of the day, it is what it is, There's no going back. But she's a good friend. She always will be, and will continue to be. Not that she doesn't want that to happen, but this sunshot, my God. She brought my ND. I have an ND filter. I was looking at these other cameras too, like how cool they are, because they have, one camera has a built-in ND filter. I think it's a new Nikon Z something. I was like, dude, that's awesome. But this camera's awesome too. But isn't that crazy? We're always looking for the latest and greatest to get better and better. But yeah, what I wanted to talk about is, like, when you have people in your life and they tell you things, sometimes you just got to learn the hard way. Sometimes you don't have to, but I've learned that if someone tells me something now, I'm going to listen a little bit more. And plus, I've got so much experience now, you kind of know. And just to be in a relationship, I'd rather be by myself, because you're compromising. And maybe that's why a lot of people, when they get older, they don't find somebody, because we put so much, high mark of what we're expecting. And there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to tolerate things that you don't like. But there's not going to be a perfect person where you can where you're going to get along, everything. There's going to be some compromise you're going to have to do. But there are some things immediately, what people call them red flags, and that you go, oh, well, wait a minute, this could cause a problem. Because as a man, I want to be present, and I want to be acknowledged. I don't want to be on the back burner, a last thought. And a lot of women, God bless them, and men have a hard time doing that because their lives are so busy. They've built this life around them, and it's very difficult. I'm not knocking it. More power to you. I'm just at a different phase of my life now. I got to find somebody who's pacing how I'm pacing and going where I'm going. And where I'm going, a lot of people don't understand. They're like, what? I don't get it. It's going to take a special creative to understand where I'm going. And I'm going to talk more about that tomorrow, but I want to just really flesh this out and talk about it today, because it's the whole point of doing the daily vlog journal is about, is venting and communicating and talking with you. And if you are going through a hard time, a difficult relationship, get counseling. If you really love somebody, it's worth trying to save, because people can change. They really can. They really, really can. So don't just give up, because people think the grass is greener on the other side. It's really not. I mean, I do like my life now, but there's times I was like, man, I wish I just had family around me. I do have family and people around me. Not saying that. I'm just saying from a standpoint of, like, the unit, the family unit. And I felt like all of that stuff, the picket white fence, the beautiful houses, I had all that, but I felt like it was a mirage. I never had the realness of the American dream. Does that make sense? A lot of people was like, what are you talking about? I had all that, I did, but I don't think maybe it just was never, and maybe what I'm saying is resonates so well with people is because the fact that people do have that, and what the American dream's painted is a false reality, because it's supposed to be these wonderful times, and there were wonderful times when I was married. Not saying that it wasn't always difficult, but what I'm really trying to get at is, this is a steep incline. Hang on a minute. Look at that. Like you're in the mountains, got to pay attention to what I'm doing. I want to slip and fall. My knees are pretty bad. Oh, this comes out to a neighborhood. Check that out. That's pretty cool. Look at that. Wow. It's cool. That'd be cool to live in this neighborhood. You could just come out here and walk the neighborhood and come over here. Pretty cool. Look at that steep incline. All right. Working the knees. Man. There we go. So what I'm really trying to get at is, you got something that's worth working on, work on it. Will I ever find anybody? I don't know. I guess I'll continue to look around, and someone strikes my fancy, I'll take a look. But for right now, I just gonna have friends. Sometimes when you have friends of the opposite sex, one of them likes each other more than the other one. That happens. But that's a risk I'm willing to take. I'm not gonna live a closed off, standoff life over fear. I've learned to be transparent. Man alive, Steve. I've learned to be transparent, always be open and honest. That's my goal. They'll always be that way. And I think in the end, no one will get hurt. Intentionally, things can be avoided. But I did a lot of work on myself in 3 years. My goal is, I'm always gonna be upfront, honest, try my best to not hurt anybody. And I'm not saying I won't ever hurt anybody, because we're human, but intentionally how I was just damaging people because I had a lot of hurt that I never dealt with. I dealt with that, and now I can be a little bit more pure in the relationships I choose to have with people, even with friends, with guys. Same thing, you know. Wow, this is a lot of work going up this incline. It's a pretty amazing trail. Definitely gonna have to come back here. But in any event, I think I've said enough for today. Always remember too, it's always about the destination. You gotta get to the destination. And before you get to the destination, you gotta document the journey. It's not always pretty, it's not always sexy, but it's about documenting it and taking a look around and seeing what's around you. Because if you don't take it all in, you might miss just something beautiful in that moment. Life is short, life is precious, and thank you for taking time to hang with me and listen to me rant. Next time you're going to do the talking and hold the camera, and I just want to listen. See you tomorrow, Lord willing, on Creative on the Mend. Gonna finish this trail.